In this video, I want to show you a method that I use to set up my typography. Here we go. So it's a very lean process and it's very focused on tackling the design head on, but staying organized at the same time throughout the early creative process. The problem that it solves, I find, is that you can really hone in on the brand consistency and being really quite nitpicky. When you make a single change, it will reflect through the whole document, and it will just make you avoid silly mistakes sometimes. And it will also check you as well, because sometimes you're like, I'm over here and in this certain area of the app I want to do something completely different, and sometimes as a designer it's hard to stick to the rules, at least for me, because I'm a bit of a rebel. So it also helps later in the process of your design. Sometimes you're trying to figure out what could be better, and sometimes just having that rule set early on just puts you in a better place and a better headspace, even just to kind of to tackle that a bit better. So today what I wanted to show you in this video is kind of like an intermediate level Figma use of putting a design system slash typography palette together. So we're going to be using Figma, we got Google Fonts, material design just as an example, and we're going to be doing a lot of renaming and using a lot of shortcuts. So let's get stuck in. I have prepared a couple of artboards here. This first one is basically a replication of this. It's materials library for their typography, and there's actually some really good stuff on here. You should definitely come and visit this material.io design typography, understanding typography. But yeah, we're going to focus right now on the font weight, size, letter spacing. We're going to focus on it because I'm going to leave that up to you as a designer to kind of figure out how you want to do it. I'm just helping you structure your document and perhaps make your life a little easier. What we're going to be using to kind of turn this into our typography utility that we can use for our document is a plugin called Styler by Andre. It's a free plugin. It's great. I've been using it for years. And I mean, I just spotted this known issues, but I haven't had any issues with it so far. It's a really smooth plugin. The way that you can get it in the new Figma right now is just if you head over to plugins here, Styler. There it is. I love the new plugin system. Yeah, I'm not getting paid by Styler, but it's just a tool that I can really appreciate. So if you end up liking this video, literally here the blue button, try it out. So getting stuck into it, over here we got the material duplication, and then here we have how I would approach it. The main differences are I sometimes don't do headline 5, 6, and I have 3 different bodies because I like to do paragraph large, regular as in baseline, and small. So how do we kind of take this and make sure that we're using this in our app? Cool. Let's just go for it. Let's take the system that I've kind of put together, and actually, even above this, I use an epic, because we have like sometimes or quite often actually, I'll use a font up in the header or hero area or masthead area, whatever you like to call it, and it will just be completely disproportionate for you to have a percentage scale down, because sometimes it'll be huge. We go over 100, but you know, our headlines, perhaps that isn't the right option for that at the time. So just for the sake of keeping them the same, I'm going to put that over there. One really important thing to know when you are editing in Figma, as soon as you decide to rename this, that's Command R to rename. As soon as you use this somewhere else and you change the text within, this still remains rename. So I'm going to try my new thing here. Rename. There we go. And we don't want that. And you don't want that because sometimes, even if you're prototyping, you want to know the layer name sometimes. But for the sake of this typography segment, we want that to happen. Okay, let me turn it off. And why do we want that to happen? Because that is how we're going to generate our styles with Styler, and how we'll be able to update them as well. So this we're going to call Epic. This is going to be called H1, H2. And if you're more of a Tailwind person, you may want to go XX large. Well, XX large. It's obvious, right? XX large, X large, large, medium, small, extra small, and so forth. So we're just gonna. They're the same names, but the fact that we're renaming them, it makes. Okay, no, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. So we're gonna call this subtitle 1 as in S2, B1, B2, because you can name these whatever you like. Whatever you absolutely like. The most important part of creating a design system or typography system is that it's clear and understandable for everybody using it. So that if it comes to your colleague, that they don't end up asking you, all these questions because they don't get it. So just for the sake of having a different button text, caption text, overline text. So now we can call this button. I'm learning with you guys. Don't worry. That's my day to day. Always a bit of trial and error. So, okay. So overline. So here's where our definitions come into play. So we're gonna call this artboard the typography set, and a lot of you will notice already, but I'm renaming with Command R. I said it before, but it's actually a really important part of doing what we're doing. So once I'm on this frame, and just FYI, I'm using auto layout. That's why things are kind of just arranging themselves. Amazing tool. I can click on this, press enter, and now I've selected each layer. If I now select Command R, then it will ask me how I want to rename these 13 layers. So let's take a moment to kind of familiarize ourselves with this renaming. Like if you know it already, we skip forward a little bit to the next timeline, but we can rename all of these things to whatever. And we can use the current name. That's the important part. And we'll see a preview over on the left here. That is what we're going to be renaming to. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to organize our typography by different weights so that we can have the Epic and H1 and H2 and H3. We can have them as our categorized by the size. So a H1, and then it'd be regular. So you see here over on the left, you've got Epic, regular. Because these are detached, what we're going to do with these is we're going to put them in their own category, because we're basically just looking for them to be in a different folder entirely. So we're going to rename them. We're going to use the current name, and we're going to say that these are all in the base folder, because these are just here for reference at this point. We just want one single source of truth as it comes to typography or the Epic. They should all be the same size, and this could be the reference point. But for how we do this next one, this will be that the font weight comes after, because we want to categorize by what it currently is. So the current name and then regular. We'll do the same here by saying that this is the current name and it's semi-bold. We could just call it semi-bold like that. And extra bold, we'll do the current name and extra bold. Okay, now we just have a bunch of layers, basically, a bunch of text elements. So here's where styler comes into play. We're going to select these three. Actually, we can select all of them, so I can show you how it will get organized. Also, another beautiful thing about Figma is once you have a frame selected or a group selected, as soon as you press enter, it selects all of the items inside, and that's exactly what we want. At this point, we're going to invoke styler. So we can do it from up here, or you can call it from within here. So we want to run it, and we want to generate styles. It's going to do its thing, running styler. And you'll see down here, 52 styles created, 0 updated, 0 renamed, and 0 changes. All right, what does that do? So I've just clicked anywhere on my artboard, and now you'll see that the text styles have been organized like so. So let's have a look at the epic. You'll see that in here we have regular, semi-bold, and extra bold. H1, extra bold, semi-bold, and regular. And the difference between all of these is that when we look in the base, all of the baseline fonts are just listed as such, so you can have a quick reference as to the sizes and the line height. What I also like to do is to put it the other way around. There is most definitely a better way to do this, but since I like organizing it left to right and top to bottom, I think that that's just something that I'm living with right now. If any of you know how to make an improvement here, that I don't have to do this anymore, that would be fantastic, but it also doesn't bother me that much. And then if I'm, well, actually, this is big to small, so I kind of like that. So now, what can we do? First of all, this typography set should be treated as like the master, well, the main typography set. This, we can just put that over aside here. What I like to do immediately, so what you often find is when you create a site, there'll be, you'll do a page. So we're just gonna come over here and we're gonna design like a quick page. Let's just make it a bit smaller. So we're gonna put a nav in and a hero, and we'll just make that white. And let's go and select like an image over on Pexels is one that I use. Just free stock imagery. I'm just going to use anything, or in fact, we're going to type in agency and we'll use that. So this picture looks fun. Copy image, paste it in there. Done. All right. And then just for ease, we're just going to put a little backdrop in there. So Now, when I go to create text in here, I can just press T, I can start typing, and I want to make it epic extra bold. Huge. That's actually very huge, but doesn't matter. A great thing is with some previous tools that I've used before, you'll find that they're attached to a color, or they're attached to whether it's left aligned or right aligned. Figma doesn't do that, or at least it doesn't do that in the example that we're using here. So actually, let's just use H1's epic. Epic is kind of large, and beneath it, we're gonna put a H3 that's semi-bold, that's within our rule set, and we've defined that we want to be able to use all of these fonts in all of these weights, and otherwise we can remove them. And this will be our strapline. And then it may even be that we end up having a button. And we have a button text style here, extra bold. And we're just going to place that as an auto layout within here, tighten it up a little, and our color scheme is just going to be black for now. All right. So this would be this would be where your content is, right? If you're creating a website, but let's just focus on, maybe even call it like a wallpaper. But this is now hooked to the typography style, and we're going to be adapting that. So you've seen how easy it is now to kind of, whenever you're designing new components and creating new areas of the application or website, then you'll be able to just select one of these predefined typography rule sets. What if we want to use the epic here, but it's just so epic? Actually, we want the epic to be the size of the H1, and then the H1 in turn to be a little smaller. When you go into when you click on that text layer, it will not allow you to change the size easily. Well, it will allow you to change the size easily, but then you need to do this one, then do this one, then do this one, and then that one. And that's where Styler comes into play again, because really what we need to be doing here is to detach them all, and we can't do that in bulk either. So you see here, this is detach style, but when we select multiple, you cannot do that. So that's where we again go to Styler, and now we're going to detach the styles. We're going to go ahead and also do that for the epic. It could have happened in one. I just forgot. Styler, detach styles. So this new, you'll see that this, because horizontally we've got all the same sizes, this will not be like a mixed sizes. This will just be the size. So we're going to make it 80 pixels now. And we want the header 1 to be a bit smaller because the designer says so. 60. Where does that leave H2? I forget. Also 60. Okay, so perhaps just for typography scaling, let's make it 68. So now that we've updated it and we have it exactly how we want it, we're going to just select all of those and go back to Styler, and we're going to generate styles. What you'll see now is that 8 styles have been updated. 0 created, 0 renamed, and 0 changes. And you'll also see that this is now 80 pixels. So it's updated perfectly.